Buy a qualifying Intel product and get entered in the Intel Dynamic Ticket Giveaway for a chance to win great prizes. Visit intelgamingpromo.com to learn more. To give you guys some idea how excited I am to be having a look at the NVIDIA Shield, number one is I built myself a ghetto shield, which you can check out, and number two is this. That is how excited I am about NVIDIA Shield. I know, NVIDIA's getting a lot of flack about this product from the enthusiasts saying if I wanted to play those games, I'd play them on my PC, or saying if I wanted to play those other games, I'd play them on my smartphone, or saying it's too expensive, or saying whatever, and whatever else. Personally, I am extremely excited about it for a number of reasons. Number one is this is the first consumer-grade device that features a Tegra 4 processor. So Tegra 4 might not necessarily be all about the CPU aspect of the performance, but it is all about GPU. And early benchmarks of Shield seem to be indicating that compared particularly to the GPUs you can get in most modern smartphones these days, even things like the Samsung Galaxy S4, it is very, very powerful. So it's a capable little gaming platform. And number two is the fact that it enables not only the ability to play Android devices, to play Android games on a dedicated device, but also your PC games, and last but not least, with what I'd consider to be a console-grade controller. Now, I've had my hands on Shield before, back when we did an episode of NetLinked Weekly, so I already know what the fit and finish is like, and guys, it is absolutely fantastic. So included with the box, you get the Shield device itself, you get the wall wart, which has NVIDIA's, well, NVIDIA logo on it, so there's not really much to say there. And then you also get a micro USB charging cable. I still hate micro USB. I understand why they're using it, but that won't make me stop hating it. You also get a quick start guide that acts as a product tour, although NVIDIA has some great videos on their YouTube channel that can walk you through the whole process of setting it up. It comes with, on the back here, a mini HDMI out, so you can run it directly to your TV if you wanted to do that for whatever reason, although personally I'd expect most people to use it handheld. It has micro USB right there for charging, a headphone microphone jack. This is the one ergonomic thing that I think is a little bit strange about Shield. I wouldn't have minded seeing this perhaps on the bottom of the device, so it's a little bit closer to you and it's not coming out the back of it. And then finally on the back you have a micro SD slot. So Shield only has 16 gigs of memory, but you can add up to 64 gigs with an micro SD XC. In fact, we have one that's a very high performance SanDisk one that runs at about 80 megabytes per second, so I'm super stoked on using that. Now the exhaust vent, I've seen it in action, like I said before, doesn't interfere with where your fingers sit, which is nice because there is a fair bit of power in there, so it does need active cooling, so that's the only exhaust vent right there, but it exhausts away from your fingers. So you've got the two shoulder buttons right here, left and right, as well as two trigger buttons, so those are nice analog buttons with varying sensitivity levels, just like that. Also on the back here, you've got what they're calling, I think they call them tags or something like that, whatever branding they have for them. You can basically swap out these top, I think they were calling them shields at the beginning, and that was part of where the name came from, but at any rate, you can get carbon fiber ones or whatever. It's not the kind of thing that I would be likely to replace, but if I did want to customize my Shield and I knew someone who happens to be sort of crafty, then I would probably just get them to like paint this or something. That would be kind of a neat way to customize your Shield without actually spending more money on it. The bottom of the device has a very nice rubberized grip. Hopefully that's not going to come off over time. It doesn't really feel like it's got any come offness to it, so feels very, very good. The one thing about the feeling of Shield that sort of put me off a little bit at first particularly, I'm going to have to let you guys know once I spend more time with it. This is a device that I'll be taking home and I will be using, and I will be doing a more extensive follow-up on letting you guys know exactly what I think of NVIDIA Shield. But the one thing that puts me off a little bit about it is the weight. It's quite heavy compared to something like a smartphone or other Android device compared to what you might be used to. However, with that weight comes solidity. So you can see when I shake it around, that hinge doesn't move. the hinge is strong. A crappy hinge can take what otherwise might be a beautiful idea or a really nice device and turn it into something that is annoying and then finally useless when the thing actually breaks. So I'm glad to see that they've invested in making the hinge correct. I also know, speaking of investing in making things correctly, that they've gone through a ton of revisions on this gamepad since CES, which was the first time I was hands-on with Shield. So it's got an 8-way D-pad up here on the left. It's got 2 analog joysticks right here that feel very, actually that's quite nice. They've got quite a linear feel to them. Ooh, okay, yeah, excited about that. Android navigation buttons here, so home, back, the custom NVIDIA button, which loads up the NVIDIA interface, so it takes you to like Tiger Zone, and you can play Android games from there, or you can buy Android games, or you can fire up the PC streaming. So PC streaming requires a few different things. Number 1 is you need a Shield. Number 2 is you need the latest drivers and GeForce experience for your desktop. Number 3 is you need a Kepler GPU, so that's NVIDIA 600 series, 650 Ti and up, I believe. Maybe don't quote me on that. But honestly, I'd recommend anything from sort of a 660 and up if you want to have a great experience, whether it's on the desktop or below. 650 Ti boost actually isn't bad either, though. Okay, anyway, you need a game that, you need the latest beta version of Steam, so you have to enable beta builds of Steam, and then you should pretty much be ready to go. You just have to make sure you've launched the game at least once, and then you have to have the Shield running on the same Wi-Fi network as the network that your PC is attached to. Contrary to NVIDIA's setup video, where they show both the PC and Shield connected via Wi-Fi, you don't have to have them both on Wi-Fi. They just have to be connected through the same router. So you press the NVIDIA button in the middle to fire it up. You can see they have a helpful instruction thing here on the cover. The one thing that bothers me and other people that I've seen already a little bit about Shield is that the 5-inch 720p display, multi-touch, blah, 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 I'm giving you guys the specs in the unboxing like I usually do, has a very large frame around it. I kind of wish that they'd gone with something more like maybe a 5.5-inch and they'd reduced the bezel space a little bit, because having a big bezel around a monitor really does make it look smaller than it is. 720p and 5-inch isn't that small compared to what we're used to on our phones. In fact, it's quite large, but I think what happens is you're used to, here's what happens. Here's why it feels small. So besides the larger bezel, people hold their phones like this. So there's no interface here. So you hold your phone like this, you sit this far away from it. With a Shield, you're going to hold it in a similar position, but look how much farther the screen is from your face. So that's why the 5-inch screen ends up feeling a little bit on the smaller side. It's also because of the bulkiness of the device itself. This contrasts sharply with something like the SteelSeries Free, which is their little Bluetooth controller that you can pair to your phone and didn't end up being a very successful product. But with the Shield, NVIDIA's gone, well, no, we're not going to make it small. We're going to make it ergonomic, and everything else sort of, well, so much for that. There's a couple tuned speakers here. Actually, I never did finish the guided tour. There's a microphone port right there, and then A, B, X, Y buttons. So you can actually use not only the touchscreen up here for interfacing with the Shield, but also the buttons. So I'm going to walk you through that in a moment once I go through the startup process. So as you guys can see, the screen is quite glossy, so if you prefer matte screens, this is not one, but we've come to expect that from touchscreens. There's also a quick getting started guide, so it shows you the NVIDIA button, as well as walking you through the navigation buttons, and, well, okay, so the ABXY buttons showing you the functionality that they mostly have. So A is usually confirm, B is usually back, and then finally, aha, yes, you can actually use the right joystick, check that out, as a virtual mouse pointer for precision movements. And this is the kind of thing I may end up actually using a fair bit, so that's actually pretty cool. And then you can actually click just by pressing that down. I don't know if it's going to allow me to click on continue here. Whoop, whoop, it's kind of awkward to, yeah, there we go. That worked not bad. Or press Y to agree. There we go. So I'm just going to set up my Android here. So if you've ever set up an Android device before, you'll have probably seen all the stuff that I just did, because this is a completely stock Android device. In fact, one of the things that NVIDIA is committed to on their webpage for Shield is timely upgrades to the latest Android operating systems. So they've only really made a couple small changes to it, and that is, well, pretty much this. So pressing the NVIDIA button gives you Shield games that you have installed, the Shield Store, PC games, so you can navigate in all the ways that you're used to. So you can go touchscreen, okay? You can use the D-pad, just like that. You can use the left analog stick, Okay, especially if you're not clumsy about it. And finally, you can use the shoulder buttons to navigate through the different menus. So you have almost so many options that my mother would find it confusing, but it's okay, I'm not my mother, so I think I can handle that. It comes preloaded with a couple of Shield games. So we're gonna go ahead and go up, Shield games. So we have Real Boxing, Riptide GP2, Beach Buggy Blitz, Sonic 4 Episode 2, and so this particularly is a Tegra HD game. You can tell from the little logo in the top, and if you want to shop for more of them, you can check out the Shield store there. So they have everything from free games to paid games, and you can, of course, use the regular Google Play Store as well. It also comes preloaded with a couple of other applications, including Twitch TV. If you're a gamer who's got something like a Shield, there's a good chance you watch game streams on Twitch, or maybe the Linus Tech Tips when show on Twitch. That's another option as well. And I just want to cover a couple of other hardware specs before I give you guys sort of the follow-up. So actually, no, I'll tell you what we're going to follow up with first. We're going to be doing Ghetto Shield versus our actual Shield in terms of latency comparison. So guys, stay tuned for that. That's going to be really exciting. Remember that Shield has a very excellent wireless implementation. So it's wireless N, but it's MIMO. So that is pretty much an effective doubling of the available bandwidth, and also because it uses the 5 gigahertz band, it is able to potentially reduce interference with random household devices. So there's that. There's also the fact that it uses the built-in H.264 encoding on Kepler in order to reduce the file sizes of the images that are being beamed to it when you're using the beta, right now it's beta, game streaming from your desktop. So we want to compare latency as well as image quality to our Ghetto Shield that we built using an HTC One and an Xbox 360 controller. It does have GPS built in, it has 2 gigs of RAM, and I think that's pretty much it for the stuff that I had forgotten so far. And then the second follow-up will be more of a long-term review. I don't do many reviews, but this is something that I'm gonna spend probably a good month with and give you guys some idea, once I have it, how much do I actually use the bloody thing? Because I have an Android phone, I have a PC, so what am I gonna use this for? I don't know. Maybe that'll give you guys some idea if it's something that you'll use as well, but I find the form factor very comfortable. Shield has outstanding battery life, better than pretty much any phone, so it's great for watching things like movies in theory, which I haven't done yet. It's also more ergonomic to hold than something like a tablet necessarily when you're carrying it around with you. You know, you put it down like that, there, see, there's your movie. Whereas tablets, you have to carry them around with what are often very awkward. See, like, look at this. This is sort of what I'd consider to be like a typical tablet case. This is an Iconia W7, and you kind of like prop it up on this thing, but I never quite trust them. Whereas something like a Shield makes a lot of sense to me, but of course it has a smaller screen than most tablets. At any rate, guys, that's it for the Shield unboxing. Don't forget to subscribe to Linus Tech Tips for more unboxings, reviews, and other computer videos. Click like on the video if you liked it, click dislike if you disliked it, and definitely leave a comment if there's anything that you want me to particularly talk about when I'm giving my longer term impressions of NVIDIA Shield in an upcoming video.